Fantastic. But firstly, thank you very much for all joining with us today. My name's Jonny Allbut. I'm head of sales at Volley. Give you a bit of a background. Volley was concepted back in 2016. We've now been going over 6 years. We service just over 1,000 yachts, including properties and planes within that mix. We work with a lot of the tier 1 management companies, corporate service providers, and some of the very large family offices. We're proud of what we've built so far. We're ever building and developing further, listening to the needs of our customers, and basically just trying to streamline the process on board, bringing that of the shore-based operation to that of the water-based operation all into one simple to use intuitive platform, whereby we give the customer support and service required for the demands of both that of the crew and also the management company. Before we kind of start, just want to give a bit of an overview of the platform. So within Volley, we have kind of 4 elements we like to talk about. We have that of our integrated high limit prepaid MasterCard, which can either be serviced in euros, GBP or US dollars. From there, we also have our integrated crew app. Therefore, once the crew members are spending on their card, they'll automatically be notified of any purchases they've made, where they can then do the receipt management or expense management side, taking a picture of the receipt and uploading into the platform. We also have an integrated payments platform for any invoices that are uploaded into the platform for making payments. And the last is the actual reporting platform itself, which is desktop based. I'm just going to come out of this and actually show you a quick video. So next one, we'll now actually go into the platform itself and just give you a bit of an overview, and then we'll have a bit of a Q&A. Any questions we can have, please unmute yourself and ask me a question, either as I go through or when we stop. We can go from there. So we're now logging in. We're going to come into our demo platform. I'm going to be coming in as an administrator today. So when we log into Volley, we actually use 2-factor authentication. On this, I'm using a memorable passphrase, or we can have the security code. So I'm just waiting for that code to come through. Read that code to me. Fantastic. So we're now entering into the platform, coming in as an administrator. So if you imagine if you are a family office or a management company, you're listed here. This will be a list of all of your assets. What we call assets when we talk about yachts, or that of an aircraft or a property, etc. We're going to concentrate today on Motor Yacht Volley Demo. We can see it's a reporting asset and its currency is euros. Therefore, any transactions entered outside of that currency will automatically be converted back into the reporting currency. Whilst we're in the dashboard, we can also see we have 13 things for my action and 2 for my attention. And then moving forward on, we have the unpaid invoice section. Within that, we can see we have 63 unpaid invoices. We have 2 functions here. One's called OK to pay and reviewed. The OK to pay is typically used at yacht level to make people shoreside aware that they are wanting the invoices to be paid, and therefore clicking OK to pay. And the reviewed section typically more used by shore-based users, allowing them to the yachts to know that they've reviewed the following invoices. So when we click into the asset, we're now entering into the main dashboard and the view that of an administrator would have. When we're looking at the dashboard, across the top, what we call the navigation pane, we have all the relevant sections. As you can see where I'm highlighting now, we're on invoices, so all relevant invoices listed here, whether that's paid, part paid or unpaid. Moving through into the banking section, where we have a list of all the card accounts, cash accounts, any funding sources, and also link back into the Volley prepaid cards and the payment account. We also have the budget section from here, where we can create the budget and edit the budget and then lock it down to then report against it. Each of these sections I'll come into more detail shortly. Finally, we have the reporting functionality, where we have a list of standard reports, including balance sheet, transaction category, transaction detail, etc. Within Volley, you'll notice we also have a built-in requests and approvals function to enhance that workflow. Again, trying to streamline the process in regards to how the accounts are managed on board. Therefore, if a request is made for a purchase, it's over a certain value, and it needs to go through the relevant approval process. This is all managed within the platform. Rather than emails being sent backwards and forwards with attachments, it's now all managed in an easy-to-use view. We also have a Supplier database with all your existing clients and all your customers of where you've made payments to. So if you want to look at any historical information, those are saved here as well. Across the top, we also have the settings. And within here, we can then do granular settings right down to individual user of what they can view, what they can access, and what they can edit. So while we're moving down into the main homepage, we can see the accounts payable section. Within here, we've got different views, whether we're looking at the amount of days due, or in regards to the different currencies and the amounts associated. So we can see the total exposure on this particular asset as it stands is 57,000 euros. The joy of the Volley system is everything is live and in real time. And from there we can see the actual budget. So on this particular asset, we've got a £2.8 million operating budget, and this is a live incurred figure of incurred expenditure, i.e. that any transaction has had a category assigned to it, and we've now got a full visible picture of real-time information. We talked about it earlier on in regards to the requests and approvals, and we can see the functionality coming through here. And this is all relevant to the user who's logging in. So we have the requests, and we have the approvals and the requests. Then moving further down, we come into the money summary. This highlights that of the Volley prepaid cards, which are integrated high limit prepaid MasterCards. And we can see the balances in the different floats. And then finally, we have the document repository from here where we can save reports or any sensitive information, which then we access by the individual users, rather than using things like Dropbox or SharePoint, etc. And then we also have a commentary of what's been happening since we last logged in. Within Volley, we also have our own chat with us now function. So this is linked live to your customer relationship manager, our head office in the UK up in Manchester. They have 60 seconds to respond in regards to the requests. So therefore, we try to be an extension of yourself as the business to support your clients, your crew members, etc. in any issues they might have or how to do something within the platform. Just going to drop into settings just briefly, just to kind of give you an overview of some of the settings. Within here, we can create the departments, we can set the crew ranks, and here's where we start building out some of that workflow element. So within that crew ranks, whether that is the limits, what their captain might have in regards to invoice payments or requests and approvals from the functionality of approving everything, right the way through to whether you want the captain to be able to actually load prepaid cards within the platform as well. From moving on, just briefly, we just come into the permission setting, and every individual user within Volley goes to the permission settings where we can say what they can view, add and edit within the platform. Okay. So the most important thing within our settings in regards to from the accounting perspective is the transactional log. So therefore, when we are reporting on a particular calendar period, we have the ability, the administrator, to lock down the period, and therefore any further transactions won't be able to put against that period unless they contact the administrator. Last thing to mention is also where we touch base is just the expenditure categories or nominal codes or budget codes. These can either be bespoke to yourself, so if you are an existing yacht and you already have a set of records, we can then update that and marry that and mimic it the same within the Volley platform, or you can use our standard codes if you're new. And therefore we can see within the codes we have the main category, and then if we drop down we also get the subcategory. We can also change the list order and apply a category code to that. We can actually define which departments can actually see those categories. So therefore, while we're in engineering, we can see the following departments can see all of these codes, and therefore reducing the amount of human error, i.e. anyone who's reporting into the galley or interior won't actually have access to these codes. Therefore, hopefully streamlining the process and ensuring that less data input errors are incurred. So let's just come back into the sections. We're just going to come down and look at the moment into the budget section. So we can either do that by clicking into the reports here, or we can click into the report section up top in the navigation bar. So whilst we're looking at some of the reports, we're just looking at the budget to actual report at the moment. We can actually select the date range. So at the moment I can select this from the beginning of January 23. Let's just set it through to March. We've got different ways we can run the reports. We can run that by date paid, i.e. by cash basis reporting. We can also do it by invoice date, i.e. accrual based, or we can do it by budget period. We'll work today on cash based, so that's the typical way that most yachts are managed and run. We've got different formats for the reports. Typically, crew users will use the visual report, i.e. the line chart or bar chart, and they'll be able to see from an HOD's perspective against their department whether they're within budget or not. So within this section, you can see graphically, we can see we've got a budgeted figure here for crew of 286,000 roughly, and then the actual spend to date of 754. Again, if we click into it, we now get some of the subcategories. If we're looking at it from an accounting perspective, and we come into a tabular format, we can now view this data in a table. And again, we'll come across as a consolidated table to start with. So again, across the top, we've got our reporting periods, and we've also got a total right the way through down to the actual bottom. As I mentioned, we're looking at the consolidated view. If we want to expand all the sections, we can do so as well. Whilst we're looking at the expanded sections, if we do have any overspends which weren't accounted for, we can see them highlighted here. And if we click into the variance, we can then say who's approved this, and we can add comments. And therefore, when we are reporting at a later date, any expenses or any costs incurred which are outside of the budget, we can actually have some commentary about it. Any reports within Volley when we're at line level or granular detail, we can also download these into Excel, PDF format as well. Some other reports which are available in regards to a comparison report, so this month versus last month, a full balance sheet or a summary, a category report, which is your classic monthly report, just highlighting the high level categories and broken down. So I'll just run that as an example. We've now got a high level category report shown on screen. So on the reports, we can see we're talking about any income incurred, total expenses and the balance, and broken it down by the relevant sections. If we drop down one further report further, we'd actually get into the detail behind each of those expenses. And this now allows the user to click in to actually investigate the transaction. So if we wanted to come back down into the actual transaction itself, we click into the transaction, we've now got all the relevant detail. We can then see all the information, etc., associated with that expense. Moving now into invoices, just to give you a bit of an overview of the invoice section. So in here, we can start filtering or apply filters, what status that particular invoice is. If we just want to look at a particular month, we can click into it. We can see all the following invoices and where they sit. If we come down into here, we can see information. We can see at the moment it is unpaid. If we actually want to click into it and go and get the detail behind it, we can see who it was added by, when it was last edited, if there are any associated invoice files with the transaction. And anytime we upload any attachments or invoices into the platform, the system will automatically generate a transaction number relevant to the section. Behind that, we also have a review function. So if you are an administrator wanting to investigate the actual invoice, if you want to go into the review section, we can have all the information relevant to the invoice, the supplier details as well, whether they've been approved or not, i.e. the beneficiary information has been approved if you're wanting to take advantage of the payment platform. And we can also then mark the invoices reviewed. So therefore, if it was someone who was making the payments at a later date, they can view that as well. We can also come into the accounts payable section. So if we are looking to make the actual final payments of these invoices, and we can do that through batch payments or multiple single payments. When we are using our Volley's integrated payments platform, it will automatically reconcile the actual invoice back into your accounting platform and therefore within the payments. So if we search on the unpaid invoices, lots of different selections we can do here in regards to, we only want to review ones which have been okay to pay by on board by the crew users, i.e. normally typically the captain or the purser, and we can also review by management as well. If we're wanting to make payments for any of these sections, we literally just click into them, and then we can make a payment by utilizing the payments platform. If you are using the payments platform, all local payments, ACH and SEPA payments are free of charge, and they are automatically notified to the vendor that the payment has been made and successful, and proof of payment is made live to that of the individual. Moving across, we talked earlier on about the requests and approvals function. Within the requests and approvals, we've got full visibility of what's happening in the platform, whether that is my own request or requests by others. We can see in here at the moment, we've got ones for pots and pans from Amazon. If we click into it, we can go and see all the information relevant to the request, who it was requested for, whether it's requested to a particular department, uploading of any particular quotations associated with that. Once those have been approved through the approval process, we can also see the history of that and what that looks like. And then once it's gone through the request and it sits in the approval section, we've now got visibility of the approvals. So right the way through, we can click onto here where we can see this particular invoice is greater than the quotation, and therefore it can go back through for the validation process, or we can set tolerances within a percentage of the original approved amount. On this particular one, we can see that this one has been approved by the captain, etc. It's been requested by the head chef, and it's now waiting for the management company's approval. All of these are bespoke to yourself, and this approval process just streamlines that process. Rather than lots of emails and attachment and who's approved what, there's now accountability and visibility to all members. Just coming down, we can also see within that request and approvals where we've got crew members requesting funds onto their prepaid Volley prepaid cards, all the way through to actually money payment execution. So these particular payments are waiting for execution. So it might be useful from a purser's point of view, exactly what's happening with management. Therefore, the following invoices are now waiting to be approved, or they have been approved and now waiting to be purchased, as everyone's got visibility of that section as well. Finally, we're just going to touch quickly based on the supplier section, basically just giving you an up-to-date element of what's been happening in the platform, which suppliers have been paid, unpaid, etc., and also all the historical of information. Within Volley, as you become a client, all of your data is protected. We are ISO 2700 accredited, and where we hold data and data storage. And while we're looking down here within the suppliers, we can see all the historical invoices, what status they're at. If we do have any prepayments made to that particular supplier, the user will always be notified that there's a prepayment on account, making sure that all funds are accounted for. If we're looking at this particular one at the moment, if we're trying to add a payment into here, it's as simple as adding a payment. And if we do have any prepayment suppliers on the account, like we can see here, we could select to use that payment, and it will apply to the balance, and then we can actually make a payment of this particular invoice, which is outstanding or part paid at this stage. If we just click into the transaction, we can see all the relevant information. We can see also the payments and the remittance advice for any payments which were made previously, and therefore if a supplier does phone and ask, has this been paid and when it was paid, you have the visibility and also the information readily available to yourself to prove the payment has been done already. Now, hopefully we have just got to a point where there might be some questions. Again, this was just a quick intro into Volley and streamlining some of the visibility and making payments and managing finances on board. And maybe open up the floor now to any questions anyone might have, and we hopefully go from there. Does anybody have any questions? I don't see any questions at the moment. Angela, I'm not sure if anyone's microphone, can they unmute if they want to?
All right, Johnny.
Yeah.
Hi there. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, I typed a question in the Q&A, but I don't know if it's actually popped up or if it's been seen. But my question was, Can you identify EU country within your system by supplier for purposes of VAT recovery?
Can we identify in regards to, yes, two elements in that. If it was a payment made using the Volley card and that was linked directly back to the supplier, then yes, we'd be able to see it there. If it was an invoice created, we'd be able to see the date and the actual address of the supplier. Is this in regards to the 8th VAT directive?
Well, partly could be the 8th directive, could be the 13th directive, obviously if it's a non-European yacht owner. But if we're also representing charter yachts that are VAT registered in multiple jurisdictions, and it'd be useful to be able to actually say, have there been French suppliers, Italian suppliers, Spanish suppliers, and actually grouping them by country for us to reclaim the VAT for our clients in those countries.
We could apply a simple field in regards to the point of the purchase, that the purchasing country or the country of where the goods were purchased could be recorded. But I believe it then comes down to where those goods were then consumed, which also has an effect on the report. Is that correct, from my understanding? Apologies if I'm incorrect in my thinking.
No, you are correct. You are correct. But obviously this would affect, as you say, possibly 8th directive claims if they're EU reclaimers, or 13th directive if they're non-European. But also if they're VAT registered charter commercial boats, then they'll have a VAT number in various countries themselves and be able to use those VAT numbers to recover the VAT directly.
Yeah.
So it will be useful for our clients to know that if there's X amount of purchases in Spain, for example, that we can go and claim that VAT back for them.
Okay, so hopefully you're still seeing my screen. So if we're looking within the supplies at the moment, within the supplies, within the details of that in particular supply, we can put in their VAT codes, etc. Therefore, if any of that supply was used, if we just click into 8th yachts as an example, and we look within the supply details, at this point you could actually go into and enter their particular VAT rate or VAT code in this point, and then you can add additional supply codes within that.
Okay.
Any of the actual invoices associated with that supplier we could actually export to, if it is yourself, I imagine you're a corporate service provider, within yourself, then run a report to actually do your VAT claim at that point in time.
Yeah. No, just to clarify, no, we're not a corporate service provider. We're
Apologies.
No, that's fine. It's a reasonable assumption, but we're just European tax advisors.
Okay. Sorry, Grant. Apologies.
It's all right.
Excellent. Does anyone else have any questions? Please, I'm looking at the Q&A at this stage. No problem at all. Well, we're looking to do more of these webinars over the coming period. We're going to try and drill down into certain sections and go into more detail. Today was literally just more of an overview for people who haven't seen Volley or heard of Volley. Please feel free to come onto the website if you'd like to have a more in-depth demo of certain sections and have specific questions rather than the wider. Please feel free to do so. Maybe myself and the sales team will be able to respond to you. But please, follow us. Go onto our socials, and therefore you'll be keep updated of all of our developments. If any of you are attending the Monaco Yacht Show or Fort Lauderdale Yacht Show, etc., in a couple of weeks, we'll be there, and we welcome the opportunity to have a meeting with you. Okay, fantastic. Well, if there's no more questions today, I'm sorry for the ones who weren't able to attend. What we will do is we will publish this, so a later date viewing, and we look forward to hearing from you and hopefully working with you if we're not already before. Thank you ever so much. Have a nice day.